Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Being here, and I am here today to do my recent reads. Now this covers the majority of November, and then it moves on into actually the day before this is going up, because I am filming it the night before, because I did not plan ahead on this video. So we're gonna take it and run with it, people. Just grab a snack, we'll be good. And a cup of coffee. Coffee's always good. So I didn't manage to read a lot of books over the past couple weeks, mostly because I found myself in a reading slump. So the first 2 weeks of November, I read one book. And that book was The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. Now, this book I ended up giving a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it. It was a thought-provoking mystery that seemed very unique as far as the time travel aspect, and then the ending, I really didn't expect it, and I absolutely loved that aspect of it. It was a new mystery, it was a new concept that I really hadn't thought too much about, and I really enjoyed this story. This book follows our main character, who we actually don't know his real name at first, but he wakes up and finds himself in the body of a man who is in the middle of the woods, and the only thing that he can remember is a name, Evelyn. And he knows that Evelyn is in trouble, that she is in danger, and he knows that he needs to help her. So the book follows him as he goes through one day in 7 different bodies, trying to figure out who murders Evelyn. And it was so unique and so intriguing, and the writing was so well done. I highly recommend this book for anybody. This is an adult book, so there are some adult themes mentioned every so often. Not to mention there is violence because it is a murder mystery, so keep that in mind if you have any triggers there. But like I said, I gave this book a 4 out of 5, and I highly, highly recommend it. And I think I probably will read it again and see if I can pick up some of the things that I might have missed the first time I read it through. The second book that I read was The Burning Page, which is the 3rd book in the Invisible Library series by Genevieve Cogman. I have been reading this series for a few years now, because I'm really slow apparently at reading some of these books and getting to them. There are 2 more, I believe, out in this series. I have one and it's on my TBR to read this December. This book follows Irene, who is a librarian at the Invisible Library, which is an interdimensional library that collects different versions of books from different dimensions of our world. Now, these dimensions have different amounts of chaos versus lawfulness, so some of them have a lot of magic, some of them have no magic at all, some of them are very steampunky, some of them are not at all. So it's very interesting. She is training her assistant named Kai, and his heritage comes up in this one, more so in the second one, but it is again mentioned in this one. And I really don't want to give too much away because this is the 3rd book in the series. The first one is called The Invisible Library, and I highly recommend this series. It is, again, an adult story. There is murder and mayhem in here, but it really is a great book for book lovers because this one talks about how books are important and how they do need to be treasured rather than thrown away. And their big thing is they want to prevent the burnings of books. They want to prevent any of these historical documents falling into the wrong hands. What I can say is that the fight between the main villain that we've met up to now does reach a bit of a climax. Unfortunately for me, it was just a bit of an underwhelming story as far as all of these go. I say that, and I still gave it a 3.5 out of 5. So I still really enjoyed it, and I plan on continuing and finishing this series whenever I can. But I guess out of the 3 I have read so far, this is kind of the one that suffered a little bit from a second book syndrome, if you will, because it just felt a lot more kind of like plot development, and I wasn't the biggest fan of the ending. I really want to know what happens, so I plan on reading the 4th one soon, because the ending just I wasn't a fan, so I'm gonna leave that there. The next book that I read is a new release, and that is Holo Kingdom by Kira Jane Buxton. This is a post-apocalyptic, like, humor story that is told from the point of view of ST, who is a crow. And now this crow is a domesticated crow, and he notices that his human is suddenly acting strange. It's told from his point of view as they realize that humans are turning into these weird creatures, zombies. And he is going around to try and figure out what is causing this. This book was adorable. It really showed connections between different groups, and it was probably one of my favorite post-apocalyptic books I've ever read. And that is a genre that I kind of stay out of because it's so cliche, and it's very difficult to find books that are at least a little bit interesting in those. But this one was fun. It was hilarious. I loved ST, and I don't know that I can say what his name stands for on YouTube, so I'm not going to. If you know this book, you'll know what I'm talking about. I think I can, but I don't know. But I highly recommend this book. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5. All right, the next book that I read was the nonfiction book that I ended up reading this month, and that was The Man Who Played with Fire by Jan Stocklassa. Now, this is a translated book, and it is a nonfiction book that talks about the murder of the Prime Minister of Sweden, and how Stieg Larsson, the author of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, got into this mystery as a journalist, because he was a journalist before he wrote this series. This book was very interesting because it is told from the point of view of someone who did research on someone doing research on this mystery, and so it made for a very different sort of read than what I'm used to, but I really did enjoy it. I ended up listening to the audiobook for this one, but I do recommend this one if you have any sort of interest in political history. This is a very political book, which I don't usually go for, but apparently I was in the murder mood this month, so I read that one as well. But I ended up giving this a 4.5 out of 5. It was very dense, very well done, and a bit longer than I thought it was going to be, but worth every page. All right, the next book I'm going to talk about is probably one of my favorite books of the year, and that is The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackwith. This is the first book in a new series called Hell's Library, and I am so excited about this book. I heard the premise for it, and I just had to check it out. And then with that cover, I love this cover. It's creepy in all the right ways. This book follows Claire, who is the head librarian at the Unwritten wing in the Library of Hell. What the Unwritten wing is the wing of the library where books that have yet to be finished are kept. And this book starts off with Claire realizing that one of her books has escaped. Now, how this works is that this book has turned itself into a human being, and this human being has gone in search of his author. And so she calls him Hero because he is the hero of the story, and she takes her assistant, who is a fallen muse and a demon, and they go in search of Hero, and they want to bring him back. And hilarity and drama ensues. This book was so amazing. It was so well done, so wonderfully thought out, and I can't wait for the next one. But this book was so much fun, and I enjoyed it so much. I really couldn't get enough of it. So I do highly recommend this book, and in case you can't figure it out, I gave it a 5 out of 5. The next book that I read was another review book that I had, and this one was Magic for Liars by Sarah Gailey. This book had so much potential, and the idea behind it was intriguing, and I enjoyed it, and it just kind of fell flat for me. This book follows a set of twins, one of whom has magic and one of whom doesn't. The one who has magic is a professor at a college, where the other one is a private investigator in the regular world. She spends her time looking for, like, cheating husbands and people who are siphoning money and those kinds of things. And then suddenly one day, the head of the college reaches out to her and says, "There has been a murder. I need you to come and solve it." Because magic is still hidden at this point, and so no one really knows about this school unless they have magic, or she knows about it because her sister is magic. And so she gets called to this school and ends up trying to investigate the death of one of their faculty members. It took me a while to get through this book, mostly just because it wasn't the most memorable thing I've read. It played out well, but it just was very underwhelming for me. I didn't feel bad for the character. I felt like she was using this less as an opportunity to discover who murdered this woman by literally splitting her in half. You find that out in the first chapter, okay? Violence warning right there. But is more concerned about a budding romance and all of that. And it's just, I appreciated the ending and I did understand it, and it was a twist that I didn't see coming. However, I just didn't enjoy this book very much. I ended up giving it a 2.5 out of 5. The next book that I read was our book of the month for November, and that was Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Ngan. Now, if you want to hear my thoughts on this book, I will have the video, hopefully if I remember, linked down below, so you can watch our thoughts on it. It did go out already, I believe. If it hasn't, then I will not link it down below. This book was fine. The characters were well written. The world is beautiful. The writing is gorgeous, and I cannot get over how beautiful Natasha Ngan's writing is. It is amazing. And I probably will continue with this series because I do want to know what happens. I highly recommend this book. It is very well done. And it kind of tiptoes the line between YA and new adult. So I would put this more in a new adult category rather than a YA category. But it's all up to your own personal preference. Overall, I gave this book a 3 out of 5. All right, that's the last ones, I promise, guys. So what I'm going to talk about next are 2 manga that I read this month, finally. You can ask either of the girls on this channel. I have been looking for these books for quite a while, and that is Delicious in Dungeon Volume 4 and Volume 5. These mangas follow a group of adventurers who go down into a dungeon in search of the lead knight's sister, who supposedly has gotten eaten by a dragon, but they're pretty sure that as long as she hasn't been digested yet, they can still save her. I mean, it's a manga. I'm gonna go with it. And while they're going through, they have a new friend who is this guy right here. He is a chef. And so what he does is takes the monsters that they slay and he makes food out of it. Nutritious, healthy food. So, such as this. And it lists what's in each dish, and you get to see how they got it, and then what the benefits are. It's adorable. This series is adorable. It's hilarious, and it just leaves me with a smile on my face. So, needless to say, both of these got 5 out of 5 stars from me. But that's all I have for you guys today. Now is a perfect time to like this video if you enjoyed it, and feel free to hit the subscribe button. We post new videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, except for right now during December, since it is Bookmas. We are posting every day through the 24th of December. So look forward to more videos coming soon from us. And that's all I got for you guys. We have all of our handles listed down below, Instagram and Goodreads, as well as my review blog if you want to see some longer reviews of many of these books. I'll see you next time. Bye!